What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's 8-game slate. An injury-laden slate, a bunch of teams dealing with back-to-backs, and a brutal portion of the schedule. We've got on the back end of a back-to-back tonight, New Orleans, Cleveland. They're playing each other. A long laundry list of injuries to deal with there. Memphis and Oklahoma City all on the back end of a back-to-back. On the front end of a back-to-back, we have Orlando tonight. The schedule is starting to loosen, though, because I see in our schedule tab, after this, Cleveland has 3 days off. OKC has 4 days off. Phoenix has 5 days off. So we're starting to get to a little bit of a lighter portion of the schedule for some of these teams, but they are all feeling the effects of the condensed schedule right now. Mike, how are you feeling about this 8-game slate?
Yeah, pretty good. That first game, I'll pull my matchups column up. I knew it was going to be bad, and I wrote it in the morning. So for matchups, I wrote no idea who is playing yet. And turns out that proved to be true. This first game on the slate is completely ridiculous. It feels like it's like last week of April.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Let's start there. Let's start with the New Orleans Pelicans, who've listed out Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, DeJounte Murray, Jalen Noel, who they cut and is no longer with the team, and Zion Williamson. They signed Elfrid Payton. They then also, beyond this filing, listed Ives Missi as Q. This is like their top 9 rotation guys, basically. And so who do we have left? What are we looking for from the Pelicans tonight?
So let's start with who we know is going to start. At least we think. Brandon Boss will start, play as much as he can until blowout. Javonte Green should start, play as much as we can. Would expect Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who's been starting for Trey Murphy, him to start. Yves Missi, if he can go, would start. If he can't go, we'll talk about that. And then they need another guard. So Elfrid Payton, who played like 10 preseason minutes, hasn't played for their G League Squadron team yet. Just signed this morning, got announced officially like a half an hour ago. Like, he might start. They need handling. It's also Antonio Reeves' birthday. So you got like, hey, it's your birthday. You're going to lose this game anyways. You might start. So you got all that going on. And then you've got the fact that like Yves Missi gets this somewhat, I mean, they may have just forgot to list them. So I wouldn't call it like a true downgrade. Because like, hey, we got all these names. Oh, wait, one more. So yeah, if he can't go, I think it would be Trey Jemison, who's been subbing in behind him. Man, Jemison got cooked last night. They kept playing switch, and Luka and Kyrie just took him to school. So, yeah, I think Jemison would start for Missi, and then we're leading Elfrid Payton would start off the street because they need another handler to replace Brandon Ingram. So that's kind of where we're at. The other rotation note here was Karlo Makovic played 7 minutes at garbage time at the 4 as he played next to Jemison. So we're playing him as the backup 4 behind Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, both kind of center-ish players who could space the floor and shoot a little bit. So we got Makovic in the rotation for sure. And then, this is hilarious to be this bad this early. The Pelicans are just running into so many injuries here. Good to see him sitting out Missi as well, who's taking a lot of tough tumbles here. Ingram, just a management thing. That made when I saw that Elfrid Payton news, I was like, well, BI's not playing today. So he's out. So this is completely hilarious to be this shorthanded this early.
Yeah, and without Jalen Noel, since they cut him, it's essentially like that's the only ball handler, right? Like Elfrid Payton's the only guy that has any real experience ball handling. So it's probably him starting. He's probably playing as much as he can handle, but what he can handle is really a big question mark from a conditioning perspective because he hasn't been playing. So yeah, it's really tough. I would make the joke that he's a local kid and that's why they signed him, but they're in Cleveland. So it's not like they'd literally like picked him up off the street. He's a Louisiana kid. But yeah, it's a mess. So we're thinking starters of Elfrid Payton, Brandon Boston Jr., Javonte Green, Yves Missi, if he can go, and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. And then if Yves Missi cannot go, that probably goes to Trey Jemison. Backups here at the 5. If Missi goes, it's Jemison. If Missi does not go, it's probably Daniel Tice. We see him back kind of in the mix. Back up at the 4, Karlo Makovic. Back up at the 3, Jamal Cain. Back up at the 2, Antonio Reeves. no backup at the 1. Someone will figure that out. Probably Brandon Boston Jr. will probably have the ball in his hands a lot, is kind of what I would expect. Is that where we ended up?
Yep, that's where we ended up. And then should note too, we saw the Makovich minutes. We're G League. It's not even Thanksgiving, and we're G League tracking. Their G League team was home here. They just basically said, "Hey, Makovich, you're not playing no Friday. Come with us." That's my read on the situation. So yeah. Makovich has earned it. They need to play him now. So he's actually had some good. I was looking through these box scores. He's had a couple good G League games. So hey, maybe Makovich could actually do something today.
Yeah, I mean the challenge to that part of the equation is he's behind like one of the very few like Jeremiah Robinson Earl's been playing pretty decently. So one of the few guys that has actually been playing decently, that it's probably a little bit of a harder path to earn minutes. All right, let's go to the Cleveland side of that game. No Darius Garland, no Karis LeVert, no Sam Merrill, no Isaac Okoro, no Max Strus, no Dean Wade. So this is basically the same injury report as last night, minus Sam Merrill and Darius Garland, 2 starters from last night when they ran an 8-man rotation. Granted, it was NBA Cup game. Granted, it was against the Boston Celtics. It was the front end of back-to-back. They probably knew they were sitting Merrill and Garland today. So, taking it with a grain of salt. But they are pretty thin here. What do you expect to see from the Cavaliers tonight?
Yeah, should note, Mobley, 38 minutes last night. Donovan played 40. We talked about this on the DFS show and on the injury show that they could up these guys and then cash out and then not play them today. So do they pull a funny business thing? I don't know. We'll talk about that later. But for now, expecting the starting lineup to be Ty Jerome starting in Garland's spot, Donovan Mitchell. We think Craig Porter Jr. will get promoted into the starting 3 spot. They're basically number 7 option. If you would have considered Ty Jerome, possibly would have started without him, but he's got to start for Garland. And then obviously Mobley, Allen, George Niang will handle the backup 4. We think Tristan Thompson will handle the backup 5 minutes. We still have Jawan Tyson. He'll play a pretty good bet. Luke Travers. That's basically their 9 right there. And then we'll see JT Thor in there for their 10th man. We've got them in there. So yeah, but how many minutes do these guys play? I mean, they clearly don't like playing these guys a lot of minutes, with Donovan playing 40 and routinely being in the low 30s. So probably managed. Obviously, huge spread. The spread, I think, is 13.5 now. So would be careful on betting like full game stuff, because I think that the Cavs are pretty comfortable where they're at. Some quotes from Atkinson saying that the schedule's been really tough on them. So not even getting Q tags is like surprising. I don't know. I'm kind of on alert for late Q tags. I joked in our Slack, be like, "Oh, this is our injury report, but like Alfred Payton's starting, we could take some more guys off here." So yeah, I would be careful on like betting into that. I think more guys could definitely sit because they still have 9 guys if they sit one more guy out.
Yeah, the counter to that is I think, and this is the challenging part about like projecting these minutes, is like you see these tight rotations. And so you're like looking at all the minutes and you're like, oh, we could probably go up here. We could probably go up here. We could probably go up here. But I think they're just going to spread minutes a bunch. And like, it's going to be like a preseason-esque game. And I wouldn't be surprised to see like Mobley, Allen, Mitchell all at like 27, 28.
Yep.
And then like they can let like Ty Jerome and Craig Porter Jr. run a little bit. They can let Niang run a little bit. They can I think we're going to see kind of like a preseason game type rotation from Cleveland, which is just really hard to project because they haven't been running things that way. But it's the context of the situation that makes me think that we're going to head that way. But we'll be very, very cautious betting into this in any direction right now, is what I'd say. Okay. Let's go to Chicago and Milwaukee. On the Chicago side of things, Lonzo Ball still out. They also are without Patrick Williams with left foot soreness, being sent for imaging and evaluation. That's not encouraging. EJ Liddell listed probable. He's been a G Leaguer, so that's a new listing, just to have a little bit more potential depth at the 4. But this is a position that they're not particularly deep at, and this is a matchup that is not particularly great to not be deep at. So what are your thoughts on the Bulls tonight in the absence of Patrick Williams?
Yeah, we've got a hedge fest here. I think that the favorite would be Julian Phillips. He's been kind of subbing in behind Paul a little bit. He's got a little bit of size, so it could be him. He would be the favorite for me, and then a little bit of a gap. And then the next group would be Torrey Craig. There was a comment from Casey Johnson, who's arguably the best beat on the planet, saying that don't be surprised for Craig to come in there. We gave him, I think, 9 minutes we landed on for a guy who's been out of the rotation all season. So it's just like, hey, go guard Giannis for like 20 minutes or whatever to see what you could do. That's on the table. It could be a Matas Bucelis, who's had some pretty good defensive possessions, more bad than not good, or more bad than good, I should say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are kind of the main ones. And then Adama Sanogo being out is like low-key interesting because if you did run that double big lineup, and don't forget, Billy Donovan did this a bunch last year, where he started Andre Drummond next to Vooch to get some extra size out there, and you would get floor spacing. So, and we have seen Jalen Smith start at the 4. Don't forget Rick Carlisle around Christmas, early December, he was running 6 as the 4. So that's on the table, but I think it's Phillips. I think Craig could legit start in the Keith Bogans role, as we call it. And then also this helps Josh Giddey's floor a little bit more. But does it though? Maybe he's still not safe, I feel like, because whoever they put in that role next to Paul could still cut him down because his minutes have been cut really bad. We saw him not start the second half, so he should be more secure. But at the same time, he might not be because this matchup is so bad. Worst rim defense in the NBA, and you're taking away your number one wing defender and Patrick Williams. So it sounds insane, and I slander Paul a pretty good bit. But the line should have moved with Paul getting downgraded because they're getting hurt so bad in an area they need really badly in this matchup.
Yeah, I tend to think we're going right off the bench and into the starting lineup for Torrey Craig because he's had experience guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo before. Matas, you can't put out there. He's too small.
Yeah.
He's got to grow into an NBA body before you give him that type of assignment. And Phillips, I think it's just him in the second unit is kind of working for him. So I kind of think that they just keep things that way. And then his minutes just scale up a little bit. And Torrey Craig is basically listen, we're dusting you off. You're starting the game. We're just going to see how it goes. If it's going all right, we're going to keep playing you. If it's not going all right, you're getting pulled and we're going to Julian Phillips and we're hitting the break glass in case of emergency situation. I think that's where we're heading. It's going to be if we get that, it's really difficult to project because the range on Torrey Craig's minutes, I think in that scenario is honestly 16 to 30. I think it's just super wide.
But he could be just one rotation and done too.
One rotation and done would surprise me. Just I think they need the body, so I think they need him to play some. But yeah, I think it could be as high. I think it could be as high as trying to match Giannis's minutes as much as possible. They really don't have anybody physically to try to match Giannis. So would be a super difficult position to project. If it's Julian Phillips or something, I think it's cleaner. I think it's easier to project. It's a little bit more of a known situation, but it's a mess because these guys are going to have a really hard time guarding Giannis and staying out of foul trouble. And then would also note that in general, we've talked about how the lineup rotations kind of view Josh Giddey as a 4 in that a lot of times when Patrick Williams is playing well or when Patrick Williams is out, that should be a good thing for Josh Giddey. I don't think it is in this matchup.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
Any other matchup, I think I'd be talking about Josh Giddey's floor and ceiling being better. But in this one, the emphasis is so much on who can actually be out there and get in the way of Giannis enough to slow him down. And it ain't Josh Giddey. So I think if Patrick Williams is to miss significant time, I think that would be a good thing for Josh Giddey's value. But I don't think this is the matchup for that to come to fruition.
Yeah, we only added 1.5 minutes. And I think had it been another scenario, we would have added 3 or 4.
Right. Yeah. Milwaukee side on the injury report, they're still without Chris Middleton, Ryan Rollins, and then Tyler Smith, AJ Johnson, Chris Livingston are on G League assignment. Giannis listed probable again. He's had this probable tag the last few games, played through it, obviously playing effectively. So I don't think it's a major concern there. What are your notes on the Bucks?
Yeah, so kind of a lot here. One, Damian Lillard back, played full minutes, had the big shot to win the game. So that was number one, which pushed out Pat Connaughton, and also Andre Jackson played 5 minutes and went away. So after the game, Doc Rivers said that the Rockets were putting Şengün on Ajax, and they just oh, nope, let's not do it. Sit down, you're fine, and we're going to sit you out. So he wasn't injured. It was a matchup thing. Maybe they go back to him. But AJ Green comes in and plays a lot of defense against a team with pretty good guards, and he won the defensive player of the game. So I think AJ Green probably has done enough to keep starting. Should note this rotation is such a mess. It's so hard to feel confident in him, Gary Trent, DeLon Wright, who was dead. All these guys have been dead in multiple parts of the season. So I think AJ Green starts. Pat Connaughton, according to Doc, was supposed to be in the rotation, but he thought that like AJ Green, Trent, DeLon were all playing like too well. So he just like said, hey, no, go sit over there. So I think Pat Connaughton could be back. He said that he's not out of the rotation right now. So it sounds like Connaughton's still alive there. And then, I mean, Giannis, like we could get 50-piece chicken minis again against this matchup for sure. So yeah, and also Brook Lopez, good game from him. I talked about this a lot that they're trying to get Brook going here. So big offensive game. Obviously, the matchup's really, really good against a really crappy interior defense here. So yeah, that's where we're at. So I'm expecting AJ Green to start. Expecting Ajax to be in the rotation, but have a significantly smaller role. DeLon is alive. Gary Trent is alive. And then, like I said, Ajax and Pat Connaughton are kind of like the last guys out. But wouldn't be surprised if they flip it again.
Yeah, I think the takeaway here really is that outside of Giannis, Dame, and Brook, the minutes are just not secure anywhere else. Mm-hmm. They're highly variable. They're going to be highly variable to how the interpretation of Doc Rivers and how guys are playing. Going to be highly variable to guys making shots. Gary Trent made his first 3 threes in this one, something like that. Mm-hmm. Ends up 4 for 6. All of a sudden, like Taurean Prince is not playing as much. He misses his first 3 threes, right? So like, I just think it's going to be really hard to feel good about any of these role players on a night-to-night basis. And I think the minutes range is going to be really wide. I mean, we've seen this with Andre Jackson, 5, we've seen like 30. We've seen AJ Green, we've seen 12, we've seen like 30. We've seen Gary Trent, we've seen 0 or 6, we've seen 24. Like, I just think it's going to be super wide on all these guys. The other question for me is, can they keep playing Brook Lopez this much? He's been up around 33, 34 minutes over the last like 5 or 6 games. I think like this matchup in general, like an up-tempo, up-pace game against Chicago, I don't think is the best matchup for him. He does have size against Vucevic that is important because Bobby Portis isn't quite as big as Brook Lopez from a size perspective. But that's my one thing. Like, can we run Brook Lopez out there 33, 34 minutes a night for like a month? I don't know. That feels tenuous to me. So Bobby's been a little bit lower of late, but I'm waiting for when we start getting that flip a little bit happening, because I feel like we're pushing the upper ends of the spectrum on the balance between those two guys. Any thoughts there on Brook?
Yeah, I mean, 40, they shouldn't do that again. But he said he wants to like ride him a little bit. So they're not this much, but it could be like closer to 30 than mid 30s. But yeah, Doc wants to play him. Doc will do what he wants.
We'll see how that goes. I've seen this tale before, unfortunately. All right, let's go to Indiana and Houston. Indiana, another team that is just ravaged here. So questionable tags on Johnny Furphy, Tristan Newton, Ben Shepherd, Miles Turner, and Jarris Walker. Miles Turner missed last game. Ben Shepherd missed last game. Ben Shepherd's tag still the same with the oblique strain. Turner still the same with the calf soreness. Jarris Walker, a new addition with the illness tag here. And Johnny Furphy, a new addition with a left hand injury. They're still without Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, and of course Isaiah Jackson and James Weissman. So what are your notes here on the Pacers?
Yeah, they did sign Moses Brown before, like they were reportedly going to sign him, but now that was on Monday. But now he's officially signed, so they'll have Moses Brown, which is interesting, right? Miles Turner questionable. Rick Carlisle said yesterday on a radio show that they're quote hopeful. For those of you who stayed tuned for all the preseason content, think about how well all that hopeful stuff went. It didn't go great. So I think Miles Turner could definitely miss this one. Ben Shepherd was at shoot-around. I don't know if that means anything. Rick Carlisle said in that radio interview that they're like, hopefully he could play today, but they might need him for Friday or Sunday. So the fact that they're talking about Sunday to play, I don't know. It doesn't feel great. We got him in projections now, but I would consider Ben Shepherd on the doubtful side of that questionable tag. And then, as you mentioned, Jarris Walker, late add for illness. Those don't go well either. So they are getting shredded. A team that's already missing Andrew Nembhard. They've got like all their on-ball defense just going away here. So it could get pretty tight. Matchup sucks. Houston's defense has been really good. So I guess if like all these guys can't play, I mean, I guess it's Quentin Jackson getting the start. He's been their on-ball defender, and you need a guard defender. So it would be Ben Mathurin and Quentin Jackson getting those starting spots and guarding on the ball there. And then, you just get Mega Siakam, as much minutes as Halliburton can get. I think Moses Brown's probably beat out Enrique Freeman for now. I'm not sure. But it seems like the wording from the beats are that they want to play Moses Brown overall. And then, yeah, for if you can miss, this seems thin. If all these guys turned Q to out, like, I'm betting Houston -6. I mean, this team just doesn't have the depth against a really good defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised it's even 6 right now with the way things are. But I mean, this team could legitimately not have their only wings would be Matherin and Jackson potentially. Like, we're looking at a situation where that's all they have left in terms of wings. That's not good. So you might get some lineup combinations that you might even need Siakam to play the 3 some tonight, depending on who else is available there. So things could get really, really messy here. Would also note that, like, whoever is in that starting spot, if it's not Miles Turner, whether it's Enrique Freeman or Moses Brown at the center spot, like, that's a lot of foul risk going up against Alperen Sengun for guys who have not been able to stay out of foul trouble much of the time that we've seen them on NBA floors. So things could get just real ugly for Indiana tonight. All right. Houston side, Jalen Green questionable with an illness, and Cam Whitmore questionable with left knee soreness. Whitmore had been in the G League, so he's up from the G League, but listed questionable. I think that has to do with Jalen Green's questionable tag with the illness. What are your notes here on the Rockets?
Yeah, illness tag. Don't have any information on that yet. We'll see what we have later. But yeah, I mean, the headline is actually, I get this box score right here. The headline is like this lack of center depth. If Miles Turner can't go, I mean, look what Jakob Poeltl did to that front court. So it could be smash for Sengun. If Jalen Green can't go, Amen Thompson's going to start. I feel pretty confident. We saw him start for Dylan Brooks in the preseason, started for Viv Van Vliet last week when he missed the game for hamstring. I think they're just going to start Amen almost regardless if it's Jabari, whoever. Like, I think Amen sneaks in there, which helps his 6 man of the year profile. Kind of why I bet on him there. But yeah, don't have a great read on the illness. Should mention Fred Van Vliet is kind of snapping out of a slump. He was like, I think, 23 percentage points below his efficiency on catch and shoot stuff. So that's starting to come around a little bit, but still pretty cool. But playing better. These 2 bench guys, man, they keep playing a ton. And Tari Eason and Amen Thompson, that won't change. They'll play a pretty good bit here as this rotations run a little bit tighter. Should also note that Aaron Holiday snuck in there and cut down Reed Shepherd in the last game. That seems pretty sticky. I think Aaron Holiday is going to do that a lot. Aaron Holiday's been a really trusted player by numerous coaching staffs, including this one last season.
Yeah, I think it'll also be a little bit matchup dependent, right? Like, this is against Damian Lillard. You want that defense kind of out there. Against Halliburton, it's probably the same case, but there's going to be spots where I think that'll be more comfortable for Reed to get in there. So I think that'll be a little bit matchup driven. Philadelphia and Memphis. Let's talk about the Philadelphia side of things. Kyle Lowry is out, Jeff Doughton out, Tyrese Maxey questionable, and Lester Quinones listed available. This is my first learning that he's on the Philadelphia 76ers. So new news for me. Maxey questionable, though, right after Embiid goes from doubtful to in, right after there's public reporting of Tyrese Maxey sort of calling out Joel Embiid for a number of factors. You can check on our latest edition of the podcast where we go into more depth on that. That'll be up on this channel shortly. What are your expectations here for what we see from Tyrese Maxey and if he is able to go tonight?
Yeah, he went through practice. He's early here. He's supposed to be back in a couple weeks. That a couple weeks would be like tomorrow. So he's on the front side of this, but maybe he's back. It was something he was like playing through at first. So it wasn't like a severe hamstring strain. So maybe he just needed a little bit of soreness, take a couple weeks off. So yeah, I think he's in. Minutes limit has to be on him. They'd be insane to play him over 35. So would expect him to start with a minutes limit. That would take Kyle Lowry's spot. So I'd expect Jared McCain has won this job. I think that everything he's done, everything the team has said, has suggested they will just deal with the consequences of having him get picked on. So I would expect Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid to start. Kyle Lowry is out for a little bit. Was he just getting shut down for playing so poorly? That's an argument for another day. And then, Kelly Oubre off the bench, Eric Gordon, and then Jeff Downton, those guys will kind of sneak in there. If Maxey can't go, that's probably getting Reggie Jackson back in the rotation for more guard depth here. But yeah, also worth noting that a little bit surprised that Drummond got more run than Gerson Yabusele. It just didn't make much sense there, but we'll see. So not 100% sure that split's going to go yet, but definitely against the size, you would think that they may be more open to playing Yabu at the 4 this time.
Yep. Let's talk through Memphis. They have not officially filed on the 130, but we get some. We're waiting for it to get updated on the 230. But Vince Williams has been ruled out. Marcus Smart is listed doubtful here, and John Conchar is also listed doubtful. What are your expectations for what we see from Memphis tonight on the second night of a back-to-back? Still without Zach Edey, John Morant, and Gigi Jackson.
Yeah, so we knew the outs, John Morant and Zach Edey are week to week, and then we knew Vince Williams was not going to play, rolled his ankle real bad, tried to walk off the court and couldn't do it. So, yeah, pretty sure he's going to be out. Oh, interesting. The Rockets are not interested in breaking up their core. We're getting some reporting for Giannis stuff. Fun. Okay, so pulling that up 1 second here. So Desmond Bane's in a slump, and Taylor Jenkins was asked after the game if he's still hurt. He said no. He said Bane's not talking about it. So we'll see if Bane could get back on track. Worth noting, Jaren Jackson hurt his shoulder last night, not listed. That's a good sign. Brandon Clark expected to start again. And then, Marcus Smart still ill, doubtful, so he's still out. So, yeah, expecting the same starting lineup for now. Should mention, though, Jalen Wells could be on thin ice. I think that his minutes could either get cut or he could lose that starting job. It would be Jake LaRavia or Santi Aldama as the replacements there. I think he's almost a dog to start at this point. Jalen Wells has not gone well, and you don't need the shooting with Bane anymore. So I think that makes sense to get another defender in there for McCain and Maxey. So keep an eye on Jalen Wells getting benched. Luke Kennard not listed. That's a good sign. No Conchar, so that'll elevate some minutes here for LaRavia. So maybe Wells still gets enough minutes, but I think he could be losing his job today.
To LaRavia?
LaRavia or Santi Aldama, yeah.
Yeah. Santi would be a little bit tricky, just like the size aspect of things, because you're going to get him stuck on an island a little bit, potentially with Maxey or McCain, which would be probably problematic. So, yeah, it's interesting. Certainly would like to have Marcus Smart here. This would have been a good matchup to be able to have him available. All right, let's go to Portland and OKC. On the Portland side, DeAndre Ayton remains doubtful with a deep contusion on his right index finger. Anthony Simons questionable here with illness. And Matisse Thybulle still out with the right knee injury management. What are your expectations on if we see Anthony Simons return tonight?
Do you think he'd have a good chance? Was ill over the weekend, still been out. So this isn't the same injury that caught him last week. So I don't know when exactly he started feeling ill, but you would think, considering they've been off since Sunday when he was ill, he's got a good chance to play. But it's the Blazers. They might sit him out. They may want to play Scoot. They still want to play Delano Banton, who was really good in this game. I think he's in. He would probably start. And then Shaedon Sharpe, a lot of real interesting quotes saying that, he wants their teammates to know that they want Shaedon Sharpe to shoot the basketball and stop being passive. So Shaedon's been scoring a ton. He's got the starting job locked up. So expect that to stick. If Ant goes, Banton's still in there, I think. We've seen Banton be the closer sometimes and then out of the rotation other days. So I think he's in there. That would basically push out Chris Murray. It would squeeze Denny Avdia a little bit. And then Ryan Rupert would be out of the mix too. Then obviously no Ayton would mean Donovan Clingan starts, Time Lord behind him, and that's pretty much your rotation.
All right. Oklahoma City Thunder, they're on the second night of a back-to-back. Could get that injury
right now.
Yeah, probably going to get them any second. So I'm going to skip past them and just go to Atlanta Golden State. On the Atlanta side.
Go to it. Let me see if we got it here. Sorry. 1 second. Oh, there it goes. Let's see if we got it. We got it. Hartenstein questionable. Big news there. Holmgren out. Isaiah Joe out. Yeah, Hartenstein questionable today.
So what are your thoughts there?
He's going to start. I think. You think
questionable means in?
I do. Yeah. If he's in, he's going to start. I mean, he's on timelines wise. We said about this time of the year. So Yeah, I think he'd be in. I think his minutes would be held in check, probably keep him under like 20. Yeah, so that would be bumping out, I guess, Case and Wallace, and then Aaron Wiggins would continue to start. But yeah, huge news.
Yeah, it could go either way on that. I mean, Wiggins was like pretty, basically didn't do anything after the first quarter yesterday. Kaysen was great, so I think if Anthony Simons is in, it could go back. It could still be Kaysen potentially, but yeah, certainly Hartenstein would shift one of those guys to the bench. Isaiah Joe remaining out, and yeah, the broadcast. I mean, I haven't heard much. The broadcast last night on Hartenstein said that he was nearing a return, but they didn't. It didn't sound like it was the next day. It didn't sound like tomorrow. They didn't say he'll be back tomorrow. They said like nearing a return. So I definitely think there will be some conditioning limitations. Would be my guess on Hartenstein, but would certainly need him in this matchup with Donovan Clingan just being a giant human being to match minutes with.
A couple other notes. We saw Adam Flagler sneak in there for rotation minutes after the game. Mark Daignault said that was because they saw him as like a poor man's Isaiah Joe for floor spacing, and he had kind of earned minutes. Yeah. So without Joe again, I think Flagler's probably still in there, but he might just get booted if they run Hartenstein and just basically move everyone down. J-Dub's back to playing more 4 and then just trickles on down and could take him out. But we would project him for minutes if Hartenstein did give it a go.
Also, second night of a back-to-back for OKC after kind of extended minutes last night in a road loss to San Antonio. You could see the minutes scale back a little bit and more of kind of a deeper rotation. We've seen Daignault do that a number of times. Okay. Surprised not to see Caruso on the injury report too. Playing 26 minutes last night, so something to keep an eye on for later as well. All right, Atlanta and Golden State. On the Atlanta side, Jalen Johnson, questionable left lateral lower leg inflammation. This came out of nowhere last game. Was it last game or two? Has it been 2 games? I think just one without Jalen Johnson. So this one came out of nowhere last time. He's questionable again today. They do not have DeAndre Hunter listed on the injury report. Hunter was fantastic in this game as they get another surprising win. The Hawks are filled with surprising close wins this year. Bogdanovic returned last game, was clearly on a minutes limitation. Kobe Buffkin was also back last game. So they were getting healthier right when they lost Jalen Johnson. It was the second night of a back-to-back, so we thought like maybe the Jalen Johnson thing is just like a back-to-back related, but he's questionable here again. What are your notes on Jalen?
Yeah, it sounded like they were expecting him to go. His warm-up, he wasn't feeling right, according to Quinn Snyder, so they just held him out with the back-to-back. So I think he's back, but not confident there. I think, as I've been saying, I think DeAndre Hunter just comes off the bench as like a super sub. They're 4-0 with Hunter playing. He's been, as you mentioned, he's been really good. So they'll cover most of the 48 with him and Ricochet. Obviously, if Jalen Johnson's in, he'll start. And then we'll squeeze some of the minutes. Bogdan and Buffkin, we saw Keaton Wallace go away. We saw the Larry Nance minutes at the 4 go away. Now that Hunter's back. So pushing a lot of guys out here. And then, David Roddy would go away if Johnson goes in there. So, and then also Garrison Matthews would get squeezed way more with Bogdan back and all these guys. So, yeah, as I'm kind of getting to here, this team's got some depth now, kind of out of the blue, all at once. We didn't expect Bogdan back this soon last week. So, yeah, expecting the same. I feel obviously it's the Great Barrier Thief has done more than enough. Go back to a month and 2 weeks ago, we were like, oh, we feel pretty good about Dyson Daniels starting, and like imagine we weren't even like we weren't even sure on that, and now it's just like, oh my God, he's so starting. So yeah, I think that pretty much spells it out that it'd be Trey, Dyson, Ricochet, Jalen Johnson if he can go, and I think they would start Matthews again if he couldn't go, and then obviously Capella has still held off Okongwu for now.
One thing to note is, and I don't know if we'll see it yet, I think we're still building towards kind of minutes for Bogdanovic, for DeAndre Hunter and whatnot, but they've played 9.5-ish rotation for a while now. That might be more like 8.5-ish, 9-ish when everybody's healthy. We just haven't gotten to the point where everybody's healthy. But there is a big gap in kind of the talent level between their top 8 and the rest of the guys. And so you might just see the minutes sort of condense. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's going to take like another week or two, but we might get there with Atlanta where the rotations are just a little bit tighter on the whole. Golden State side of things, Steph Curry probable with left knee bursitis. He was questionable last game, played through that. Kevon Looney, who missed last game, is probable with an illness. They're still without D'Anthony Melton, will be for a while with that left ACL sprain. And then Kyle Anderson is questionable with a right neck spasm. What are your notes on the Warriors tonight?
Yeah, should be pretty much good to go. I guess Lindy Waters starts again. Not confident there. Maybe they flip it. You would think they might flip it for matchup. I don't think they want to put Andrew Wiggins on him, but maybe they do. So I'd keep an eye on that. Maybe they start Gary Payton there. So not a lot of confidence in Lindy Waters. Yeah, confidence to start. So yeah, Trace Jackson Davis should continue to start there. Don't have too much to add there, but Pod's down bad. Actually, that's my note. After the game, Steve Kerr said he's not shooting the ball confidently, and things aren't. He's just not the same player he was basically there. So yeah, Pod's down pretty bad right now, and I think it's going to take multiple games to kind of get him out of it.
If they did start Gary Payton for this matchup with Trae Young, how high do you think the minutes could be for Gary Payton? It just seems like he's got a ceiling around like 20.
Yeah, you're just buying minutes. So he'd be like, we'd probably put him at like 15, range of like 12 to 20 kind of a thing. So maybe 16.
Yeah. Chaos Safi noting Lindy Waters and Trae Young were high school teammates. So there's a narrative there. So maybe Lindy has specific insight on how to guard high school Trae. All right, let's move to New York and Phoenix. On the New York side of things, no Deuce McBride, still without Precious Achiuwa and Mitchell Robinson, of course, but nobody else listed on the injury report. So that's good news because we got a lot of Q tags from the Knicks of late. Without Miles McBride, we saw Cam Payne have a really nice game last time out against Washington, stepping into kind of the primary usage role in that second unit that is obviously staggered with their first unit guys. We finally saw that Knicks minutes able to get somewhat managed simply because of the game flow in this one on a back-to-back. What are your notes on the Knicks tonight?
Should be pretty tight minutes here. Spread's somewhat tight in Phoenix there, so expecting a lot of minutes from those guys. Don't have too much to add. Cam Payne will overlap a little bit more. Revenge game for Cam Payne as well. So, yeah, it'll be the starters. Payne, Jericho Sims will be locked in as their core 7, and then we'll probably sprinkle in some Kolek and Diarate, all those guys.
Yep. All right, Phoenix side of things, no Bradley Beal, no Kevin Durant, Yusuf Nurkic questionable here. Phoenix, as I noted, they have 5 days off after this. This is their 6th game in 9 nights, though. So they have played a lot of basketball of late. They've been shorthanded without Beal and Durant through that. You have seen the minutes sort of in the performance flow on Devin Booker. I mean, some games he's taken 25 shots, some games he's taken 15 shots. So it's been really up and down for Devin Booker. What are your expectations on Nurkic in the Q tag tonight and what we see from Phoenix on the last of this very, very congested schedule for them, the 6th game in 9 nights?
I mean, I think Nurk is true game. I think he's like at best game time. This ankle thing has been bothering him for 2 weeks. I think it's probably off the table that he plays 28, 29. This is bothering him, and he's had history with this stuff before. So I think I don't know. I think he might sit. So give him one more game off, rest up, and then you could kind of get back to 100%. Makes sense to me, especially when Plumlee's been solid, and then Osa Iguodala was fantastic in the first unit. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just sit Nurk out for one more. Again, kind of just a guess for me there. But other than that, Tyus Jones minutes have been pretty solid. Okogie's been great off the bench. But I'm expecting Osa Iguodala to start again. I think that Mike Budenholzer liked that look. He's played pretty well overall. She mentioned Grayson Allen's minutes got really pumped up after being held in check for hamstring injuries as well. So, mostly a run-it-back situation. Obviously, if they are playing Nurk, then I think Osa will still find minutes, so that'll squeeze a little bit on the guards. I think they would just play bigger, make Royce more of a 3 than a 4. Royce O'Neal's minutes would get cut a little bit, but they would just play a little bit bigger if Nurk did play.
All right, let's go to Orlando and the Clippers. Last game to talk through tonight on the Orlando side. Originally listed questionable, but now ruled out was Wendell Carter Jr., so they'll be without him once again, and Paolo Banchero, but some optimism just in the sense that he got a questionable tag to start and then was ruled out, although it's still early. What are your notes on the Magic, who've been playing great basketball, get a nice road win against Phoenix there? It was Phoenix on the second night of back-to-back, so schedule advantage for Orlando there. But they've been playing great, and another time that they've held an opponent below 100 points. Will they be able to do it again tonight against the Clippers?
I think so. We'll talk about that. But yeah, their defense is just absolutely on fire. They're first in rim defense. They've got a lot of ball pressure defense to bring here with the Clippers shorthanded on Norm. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, we saw that Wendell was like only doing bike work about a week ago. So I was surprised he got the Q tag here. So he's out, but he'll be back probably this weekend or something. But yeah, Goga's been great, man. Goga needs a lot of love. Big reason why the rim defense has been so good is because Goga's rim protection's been so good. So shout out to Goga. Anthony Black, basically career game. He played great defensively. 9 assists, 20 points, was very, very good in this game. So he's earned perhaps a little bit more. And then Jonathan Isaac, pretty consistently getting 20 minutes now. So this rotation's been much more stable than we kind of thought going into this Paolo stretch. Should mention Paolo could be back pretty soon. We're coming up, probably another week away before we start talking about timetable getting him back in there.
Yeah, the waves of defenders that they can throw at you on the perimeter with Suggs, KCP, and Anthony Black. And Gary Harris has lost a step, but he competes on that end too. Like that is just like there's no break if you're a opposing ball handler. So let's get into that tonight for James Harden. He's not listed on the injury report. They're without Norm Powell, Kawhi Leonard, and of course PJ Tucker still not with the team. Without Norm Powell, James Harden, the offensive load really falls heavily on him and Ivica Zubac's shoulders. We've seen Kevin Porter Jr. take a little bit of a bigger step forward in terms of his role of late, but it's been a little bit matchup dependent against Golden State. That was not the best spot for him to kind of soak in. Against this Orlando defense, I would think it's not the best spot for him personally, but they are so shorthanded shot creation that they might have to. So what are your thoughts on who replaces Norm Powell in the starting lineup and how things look from a rotation perspective here for the Clippers?
Yeah, I think there's two candidates. One is easy and the other one is not. The easy one, I think, is Kevin Porter Jr. I think it makes a ton of sense. You get some secondary creation that you're going to need here. Minutes have been coming up a little bit. They've been staggering him more with Harden, so he should be considered the heavy favorite. But my dark horse is not Terrence Mann. I think that Ty Lue said that he likes him off the bench, wants him to have that second role, and then have a bigger usage handed to him. So you don't do that starting him. So I think they want to keep Mann in the second unit regardless, which that means who's next? Could be Amir Coffey. I think that actually makes a little bit of sense, kind of run there. But the dark horse for me, I think Jordan Miller could come out of the blue and start this game. Hasn't been in the rotation, had a great preseason, can score a little bit. Matchup sucks. So I think within reason, it's KPJ, big dip, and then I would actually say Amir Coffey's more likely to start than Mann is, and then Jordan Miller, total dart throw to start. But the minutes will be pretty high for KPJ as a sixth man. Chris Dunn's minutes would come up. Batum would play a little bit more. We also have Mo Bamba getting all the non-center minutes here as they'll have to play a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and this is going to be just a grinded out game because the Clippers can defend in a big way too, right? You see they held Golden State down below 100 points last game. They have the primary wing defender in Derrick Jones Jr. They have a primary guard ball defender in Chris Dunn. Right now, Orlando's offense is very Franz Wagner centric, and then very Jalen Suggs centric as well. So this is a grinded out game, not a particularly appealing game from a DFS perspective, but a game that for old school basketball fans, for people who really love to say that they don't defend in the NBA and it's all just one-on-one basketball. Tonight will be this is your one to tune in on, and if you want to. I'll probably have this up while I have, I kind of root for Illinois, growing up an Illinois fan for no real apparent reason. They're playing tonight a big game. I'll probably throw both up and I'll just watch a bunch of bricks in both the college basketball and pro basketball at the same time. We can talk all about how great the defense is. All right. That will do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're interested in checking out our premium content, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our premium product offerings. Really proud of the work that we're doing on the DFS and on the prop side of things, really dialed in projections. And we've lost Mike, so I'll just close it out without Mike's graphics to lead the way as well. Also, if you are uninterested in joining us for the premium content, you can join us on and support our free work here on this YouTube channel. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can get notifications whenever we go live by hitting the bell. Thank you, Mike, for joining us ceremoniously at the end here. You can also support us by smashing that like button and feeding that algorithm. That helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information you need each and every day to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Num, 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 num. We'll see you tomorrow.